Is my public? That's what happened yesterday, but some people didn't get it. As I was going back, I saw a couple of things I had to go back and change my privacy settings. Because when I posted a video about the kids the other day playing a video game, I changed my settings to friends only. But from that point, it started changing everything, and I would like the videos to be public so anybody could watch them. So just check it. Good morning, Aunt Mimi. Peace and blessings. Lavender run all in your yard, Alicia. Yeah, that's a good thing. Hold on, let me bring YouTube online. Boy, kazi mula. Shayla, Alicia, Trina, Tiffany, Anita, hey girls, hey. Yeah, hold on, I need some water. I already know it now. Okay, put some in my cup. Hold on. Okay, y'all, so look. So remember yesterday, we came across, we was talking about the name of the Most High, right? Listen here. Okay, real quick. So, when Yahuah's people were scattered, and all our land was divided up, and all our everything was dispersed, so was all our stuff, everything. Even we read through here, right? Look, the language we was made to forget after we had taught another nation our language, and they changed it a little bit and toyed with it a little bit, you know. But they, under lock and key, they know the original language as we taught it to them, right? And so they use it, right? And so what they do is they slap scary names on stuff, and they divide it amongst themselves, and then they teach you via Christianity doctrine to stay away from this, because these is for Satan worshipers, those who love the devil and everything, right? And technically what they said was true, right? Because they're keeping it from you, right? Everyone who does, let me see, they hate Yahuah's people, but they use Yahuah's stuff, right? I said all that. Belinda Brown, Aliyah, Cream Rise, and peace and blessings. Look, so me, I'm going to go check stuff out, right? And a lot of times, so what I found recently, that, okay, so remember I told y'all the word occult is not like what they teach you. Occult is like New Age, stay away from that devil worship and stuff. But occult simply means hidden. That's the original translation of the word occult, right? It's hidden wisdom. So if you hear occultic teachings or anything with the occult, when we hear it, we've been programmed to see devil worshipers. But when you hear it, you need to adjust your thinking to know that this is hidden knowledge, hidden wisdom, things that has been hidden from the masses, right? Those who, in different ones like Freemasons, and those who climb the ranks of the Freemason and all that stuff with the degrees and all the way up to the 33rd and different ones like that, right? So y'all know what I'm talking about. They have taken some of this wisdom, some of the stuff they learned from King Solomon. They got some stuff King Solomon's key, all these things. But all these things belong to us, right? Said all that to say, also, have they taken the name of Yahuah, the ineffable name? Now, they can do a little bit of something with it, right? But it ain't doing them too much good, because they are in violation of it, right? It doesn't belong to them. Although they may benefit a little bit from it, they are in violation of its principles, right? So listen here. So there is, and I'm going to share it. Well, okay, look. So y'all saw that prayer that I posted on my page right before I came on, right? Oh, yeah. That prayer right there. And I went in and I added some emojis within that prayer. That prayer right there, and I'll post it here on in the comment section, and I'll pin it today, right? So anybody that watches this will know, right? And I didn't put any kind of explanation on it, right? So everybody here that knows, if you want anybody to know, just have them watch this while I explain it here to you. That prayer is a transliteration of scripture, a certain portion in scripture which holds the ineffable name of Yahuah in it, right? If you don't know how to pronounce the ineffable name, and what I'm also going to do under that prayer, and in the description box here, I'll put it in Hebrew so you can look at it. You may not be able to read it, but looking at it is just as powerful. Looking at the prayer in Hebrew, and you can pray it with the transliteration. It holds the same power. This is also the prayer that was prayed by Israel when it was about to be delivered, right? Listen, I don't know what all is going to happen this Passover, if anything magnificent or whatever. I don't know, but I want to share with you that that's what that prayer is, right? Some people just glance past it, whatever. But for those of you who know, you go test some stuff, right? Listen, you can pray the transliteration of this prayer. I don't know if you want to look at the Hebrew and say the prayer. It's in English, is the transliteration of that prayer. It still holds the same power, right? It holds the ineffable name. Okay, so now in the Hebrew language, the modern Hebrew language, how they've taken and coded things, right? It's found in Exodus chapter 14, verses 19 through 21, Dana. That's where it's found. That right there. You can even read that, right? But the more, the better understanding of the proper transliteration is what I put right there. You can, it still holds the same power. You can just go read Exodus 14, and I posted it before. Matter of fact, in my description of my channel on YouTube, I have it there. But people who see it, they're none the wiser. They, oh, okay, this is okay. And they're going about their business. But I'm explaining to you what it is, right? Now, you can pray it in your prayer. You can pray it whenever you feel the need to, right? Now, I just don't know how to pronounce it where I pronounce it in the original language. I have the transliteration. I have it in the Hebrew, how they done toyed with it, but it's there. They've hidden it, right? Now, if you, in Hebrew, I'll post the Hebrew for you so you can see, and I actually post the picture, right, where somebody has highlighted it. In Hebrew, what they did, they took the ineffable name, or the 72 names of Yahuah, and they've put it in one passage of scripture, and they coded it by taking each letter, making it the first letter of a word, right? So say you got this paragraph, and you read it from right to left. So the first letter of every word of that particular paragraph encodes the letters of the 72 names of the Most Holy, right? Who resides above the heavens, right? The God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. I will post it. Somebody has did it, and they highlighted it. I was like, I'm going to screenshot this, right? But listen here. This information, I found it in a few places. Now, you won't find it in the regular church world, right? But you will find it listed under things with the boogeyman scary name, occult. I waited a little while. I was like, I got to double check some of this stuff, Father. Hold on, because I don't really know how to read it for real. I just got to double check. I can decipher Hebrew. It's just going to take me a little bit to do it, right? Look, I'm going to post it up here, all of y'all. I got y'all, right? So at least y'all know y'all got something y'all can take and test. I don't care if you do it as your daily prayer or whatever. That's how I'm using it as my daily prayer. I'm praying it with my children until I'm able to actually pronounce it. Now, I do have a pronunciation chart with it where it looks like it's sounding out syllables. And you can also say the prayer as you sound out the syllables if you want to do it that way to get you even closer. I'm testing that right now. So I'm just saying it's there. I'll put the scripture references where you can find it. I'll put the Hebrew where you can look at it, and the transliteration of what it means in the prayer, right? Okay. So I just wanted to share it with y'all so at least y'all know, right? So y'all, okay. I figured, hey, Passover, this why not do this prayer with the family here, right? Even if your whole family or you got older ones or whatever, do that as a prayer. Like, you know what? I got a prayer that I want to pray. It was translated from the Hebrew. Let's just pray this prayer over our meal. The prayer, use it as a prayer over your meal. Whatever. Just pray the prayer. Okay. All right, y'all. So with that being said, shalom, Joanne, shalom. Okay. So with that being said, if you get what I said, when the video ends today, I'm going to post in the description box on Facebook and YouTube, and I'm also pin it in the comment section on YouTube, and I put it in the comment section and Facebook as well. Just start the video over at the very beginning and listen to what I said again. That way you can see. So, but also I'm thinking about the reference. I'll share the reference with you, but remember what I said, right? Don't get thrown off with some of the other stuff he shares in there, right? Because they take everything and they kind of mix it up because they know certain people are not going to go looking there to find this information, right? You got to go back and find out where the pieces of the information that they have taken and hidden. I'm kind of good at that, right? So some stuff I don't share because some people who don't quite understand, like, wait a minute, what is this, right? I'm learning how to separate the meat from the bones, pulling out what's good, sharing what's good. Everything else, that we'll put that off to the side somewhere. You don't need that. We only need what's good, right? And we can test what's good, okay? So remember that, y'all. All right. So with that being said, beautiful people, happy Friday. Happy Friday. I'm sorry for those of you on Facebook who missed me yesterday. I explained it when I came on, but I didn't realize my privacy settings had changed to friends only, and it started doing that automatically yesterday after I posted the video with the kids playing a video game. So everything that I posted after that, I realized it this morning, everything was changed to like a more private setting. So I went back and I changed the things that I wanted public for everybody to see who are not necessarily our friends yet or whatever. Devon, picking at you, you don't eat meat, fam. Devon know what I'm saying. Dana. Good morning, Devon. Yeah, I don't eat meat, but he said for y'all that can't see, Devon picking at you, you don't eat meat, Pam. Laugh out loud. Yeah, but y'all get the analogy of what I'm saying. It's eat the meat, spit out the bones, but y'all get what I'm saying. Take what's good. I know y'all do. Take what's good, throw away what's bad. Separate truth from error, you know. So, all right, y'all. It is Friday. Happy Friday. Tomorrow is Passover, and it looks about full. It'll be completely full Saturday. Well, yeah, you'll see her like 100% full Saturday as we get on tonight, but she will be 100% full on Sunday, y'all. So, yeah. I'm looking at my notes. Okay, yeah, so that's Saturday. Passover, then Feast of Unleavened Bread begins Sunday, very next day. All right, y'all. Happy Friday. It is March the 26th, 2021, day 112, year 3 of reading through the books of the law and the prophets, and of the 3-year consecutive day count, day 781. Today, y'all, we reading 1 Samuel, chapter 19, 20, and 21. And then we're going to hop over to the Legends of the Jews, starting with page 444. All right, y'all. So let me pull this up. I didn't even pull it up, so give me a second. I just kind of wanted to share it. I was going to share it yesterday, but I had to check something else. I don't want to be giving y'all half information. Like I said, we can all test this together. Those who will, you know. I've been testing it a little bit. I'm like, okay, but I ain't really ran into any, like, not that I want to run into any kind of life or death situation where I have the opportunity to use it. Like, I don't really want to run into one of those, but if I do, I got it. We're gonna test it. Like, seriously. Okay, so right at this time, I'm just trying to remember it at any given moment. You know how to. I have the sounding out the syllables, but I'm gonna have to find somebody who. Well, I don't even know if I'll find somebody, at least in my circle at this moment, who can, I don't know, give me the proper pronunciation and know exactly what we're looking at, right? So, but Yahuah is faithful. I'm going to find it. I'm going to figure it out. Even if an angel has to come and say it to me and teach me how to say it. That's why I know I pray. I was like, look, Father, if I can't find the what, then I'm going to need you to send an angel, send somebody to appear to me or something. Or say it to me in a dream. Because in my dream, sometimes I forget. I don't remember every portion about the dream. But I know stuff is there. But I can't quite remember the pronunciations of some of the stuff that I hear in my dream. But I'm like, let me remember this. If I don't remember anything else from my dream or whatever, let me remember this. Right? And I say, and I'm gonna teach it to my children, right? And those in my circle who love Yahuah, you gotta be careful about it because you just can't. Yahuah's people should know it, period. That's just what I think, right? But I use discretion on who I share it with. Somebody that I think got vagabond motives, it'll do you more harm than it will good because it's. Yeah, y'all get what I'm saying. All right, y'all. So let me go ahead, pull up the shimmer here. All right, with someone who speaks. Yes, they would. Dana said, with someone who speaks fluent Hebrew as it is now be able to say it. Yes, I believe they would. They would be. Yeah. Who can read, and I would say who can read and speak, or even if they can't read it, but they can speak it. Because it's possible to be able to speak it and not read it. Because I think about children. You know, children are able to assimilate a language without being able to read it. That's just how we're created, right? Or may Yahuah that's all I need. I only need to be able to read it. I want to be able to read it. All I need to do is be able to hear it first, right? And I'll be able to speak it, you know. So, okay, but yeah, Dana, yes, they would be. Okay. Hear, therefore, O Israel, and observe to do it, that it may be well with you, and that you may increase mightily, as Yahuah, the God of our fathers, has promised us in the land that flows with milk and honey. Hear, O Israel, Yahuah, our God, He is one God. And you shall love Yahuah your God with all your heart, and with all your soul, and with all your might. And these words which I command you this day shall be in your heart, and you shall teach them diligently unto your children. And you shall talk of them when you sit in your house, and when you walk by the way, and when you lie down, and when you rise up. And you shall bind them for a sign upon your hand, and they shall be as frontlets between your eyes. And you shall write them upon the posts of your house and on your gates. And Yahuah commanded us to do all these statutes, to fear Yahuah our God for our good always, that He might preserve us alive as it is at this day. And it shall be our righteousness if we observe to do all these commandments before Yahuah our God as He has commanded us. Oh, really? Dana, listen. I'm going to give it to you. Give it to her. Tiffany, both of you. Listen. Give it to them. Ask them, even if they got to record a video of them speaking the whole thing, have them read it and send the audio or something to you. Y'all send it to me, please. Okay? I'm going to send it to y'all. Give it to your friends who speak and read fluently. Please. Okay. All right. Thank y'all for that. Okay. All right, y'all. So let's hop over here to 1 Samuel. 1 Samuel chapter 19. Saul tries to kill David. We're going to plug this in. Okay. Saul now urged his servants and his son Jonathan to assassinate David. But Jonathan, because of his strong affection for David, told him what his father was planning. Tomorrow morning, he warned, you must find a hiding place out in the fields. I'll ask my father to go out there with me, and I'll talk to him about you. Then I'll tell you everything that I can find out. The next morning, Jonathan spoke with his father about David, saying many good things about him. The king must not sin against his servant David, Jonathan said. He's never done anything to harm you. He has always helped you in any way he could. Have you forgotten about the time he risked his life to kill the Philistine giant, and how Yahuah brought a great victory to all of Israel as a result? You were certainly happy about it then. Why should you murder an innocent man like David? There is no reason for it at all. So Saul listened to Jonathan and vowed, as surely as Yahuah lives, David will not be killed. Afterward, Jonathan called David and told him about what had happened. Then he brought David to Saul, and David served in the court as before. War broke out again after that, and David led his troops against the Philistines. He attacked them with such fury that they all ran away. But one day, when Saul was sitting at home, with spear in hand, the tormenting spirit from Yahuah suddenly came upon him again. As David played his harp, Saul hurled his spear at David. But David dodged out of the way, and leaving the spear stuck in the wall, he fled and escaped into the night. Then Saul sent troops to watch David's house. They were told to kill David when he came out the next morning. But Michal, David's wife, warned him, if you don't escape tonight, you will be dead by morning. So she helped him climb through a window, and he fled and escaped. Then she took an idol, put it in his bed, and covered it with blankets, and put a cushion of goat's hair at its head. When the troops came to arrest David, she told them he was sick and could not get out of bed. But Saul sent the troops back to get David. He ordered, bring him to me in his bed so I can kill him. But when they came to carry David out, they discovered that it was only an idol in the bed with a cushion of goat's hair at its head. Why have you betrayed me like this and let my enemy escape? Saul demanded of Michal. I had to, Michal replied. He threatened to kill me if I didn't help him. So David escaped and went to Ramah to see Samuel, and he told him all that Saul had done to him. Then Samuel took David with him to live at Noah. When the report reached Saul that David was at Noah in Ramah, he sent troops to capture him. But when they arrived and saw Samuel leading a group of prophets who were prophesying, the spirit of Yahuah came upon Saul's men, and they also began to prophesy. When Saul heard what had happened, he sent other troops, but they too prophesied. The same thing happened a third time. Finally, Saul himself went to Ramah and arrived at the great well in Seku. Where are Samuel and David? He demanded. They're at Naoth in Ramah, someone told him. But on the way to Naoth and Ramah, the spirit of Yahuah came even upon Saul, and he too began to prophesy all the way to Naoth. He tore off his clothes and lay naked on the ground all day and all night, prophesying in the presence of Samuel. The people who were watching exclaimed, what, is Saul even a prophet? Okay. 1 Samuel chapter 20. Thank you, Joanne. David now fled. 1 Samuel chapter 20. David now fled from Naoth and Ramah and found Jonathan. What have I done? He exclaimed. What is my crime? How have I offended your father that he is so determined to kill me? That's not true, Jonathan protested. You're not going to die. He always tells me everything he's going to do, even the little things. I know my father wouldn't hide something like this from me. It just isn't so. Then David took an oath before Jonathan and said, your father knows perfectly well about our friendship, so he has said to himself, I won't tell Jonathan. Why should I hurt him? But I swear to you that I am only a step away from death. I swear it by Yahuah and by your own soul. Tell me what I can do to help you, Jonathan exclaimed. David replied, tomorrow we celebrate the new moon festival. I've always eaten with the king on this occasion, but tomorrow I'll hide in the field and stay there until the evening of the third day. Now, real quick, I want to bring out they had a new moon. So they were in the habit of celebrating a new moon. How do we know that? Because Yahuah was always saying, when they weren't doing what was right, he said, I'm sick of your new moon festivals, your Sabbath day feasts. I'm sick of all of it because you're still not doing what's right. You're doing it out of just being religious. You're keeping it, but you're not doing what inwardly and living the way you should, right? They had an outwardly appearance and pious appearance, but in the dark corner, behind closed doors, they was doing everything what Yahuah told them they should not be doing, right? And also here it tells them that they were celebrating the new moon. They were celebrating the new moon, or the beginning of the new month. They called it out. We're in a new month of the year, and we throw a festival on this day, right? David replied, tomorrow we celebrate the new moon festival. I've always eaten with the king on this occasion. I've always eaten with the king on this occasion. So should we be doing a new moon feast every month? Yahuah didn't command it. He did it. That's why I never said anything about it. I mean, but you could. I mean, what could it hurt? It never hurts to get together as family. Yes, let's eat. I don't see a problem with it. But he didn't command it, at least from what I've seen so far in all the manuscripts that I have. But I saw that they did do it. Was it a command? I don't know, but I don't see where it was a command. I saw that they've done it, though, So, okay. David replied, tomorrow we celebrate the new moon festival. I've always eaten with the king on this occasion, but tomorrow I'll hide in the field and stay there until the evening of the third day. If your father asks me where I am, tell him I asked permission to go home to Bethlehem for an annual family sacrifice. If he says fine, you will know all is well. But if he is angry and loses his temper, you will know that he is determined to kill me. Show me this loyalty as my sworn friend, for we made a solemn pact before Yahuah, or kill me yourself if I have sinned against your father. But please do not betray me to him. Never, Jonathan exclaimed. You know that if I had the slightest notion that my father was planning to kill you, I would tell you at once. Then David asked, how will I know whether or not your father is angry? Come out to the field with me, Jonathan replied, and they went out there together. Then Jonathan told David, I promise by Yahuah, the God of Israel, that by this time tomorrow or the next day at the latest, I will talk to my father and let you know at once how he feels about you. If he speaks favorably about you, I will let you know. But if he is angry and wants you killed, may Yahuah strike me and even kill me if I don't warn you so you can escape and live. May Yahuah be with you as he used to be with my father. And may you treat me with the faithful love of Yahuah as long as I live. But if I die, treat my family with this faithful love, even when Yahuah destroys all your enemies from the face of the earth. So Jonathan made a solemn pact with David, saying, May Yahuah destroy all your enemies. And Jonathan made David reaffirm his vow of friendship again, for Jonathan loved David as he loved himself. Then Jonathan said, tomorrow we will celebrate the new moon festival. You will be missed when your place at the table is empty. The day after tomorrow, toward evening, go to the place where you hid before and wait there by the stone pile. I will come out and shoot 3 arrows to the side of the stone pile as though I were shooting at a target. Then I will send a boy to bring the arrows back. If you hear me tell him, there on the side, then you know, as surely as Yahuah lives, that all is well and there is no trouble. But if I tell him, go farther, the arrows are still ahead of you, then it will mean that you must leave immediately, for Yahuah is sending you away. And may Yahuah make us keep our promises to each other, for he has witnessed them. So David hid himself in the field, and when the new moon festival began, the king sat down to eat. He sat at his usual place against the wall, with Jonathan sitting opposite him and Abner beside him. But David's place was empty. Saul didn't say anything about it that day, for he said to himself, something must have made David ceremonially unclean. But when David's place was empty again the next day, Saul asked Jonathan, why hasn't the son of Jesse been here for the meal either yesterday or today? Jonathan replied, David earnestly asked me if he could go to Bethlehem. He said, please let me go, for we are having a family sacrifice. My brother demanded that I be there, so please let me go away to see my brothers. That is why he isn't here at the king's table. Saul boiled with rage at Jonathan. You stupid son of a whore. Saul boiled with rage at That is going to be my title today. Yo, I forgot that was there in this translation. Saul, yeah, that's our title for today. Saul boiled with rage at Jonathan. You stupid son of a whore, he swore at him. Do you think I don't know that you want him to be king in your place, shaming yourself and your mother? As long as that son of Jesse is alive, you will never be king. Now go and get him so I can kill him. But why should he be put to death? Jonathan asked his father. What has he done? Then Saul hurled his spear at Jonathan, intending to kill him. So at last Jonathan realized that his father was really determined to kill David. Jonathan left the table in fierce anger and refused to eat on that second day of the festival, for he was crushed by his father's shameful behavior towards David. The next morning, as agreed, Jonathan went out into the field and took a young boy with him to gather his arrows. Start running, he told the boy, so you can find the arrows as I shoot them. The boy ran, and Jonathan shot an arrow beyond him. When the boy had almost reached the arrow, Jonathan shouted, The arrow is still ahead of you. Hurry, hurry, don't wait. So the boy quickly gathered up the arrows and ran back to his master. He, of course, suspecting nothing. Only Jonathan and David understood the signal. Then Jonathan gave his bow and arrows to the boy and told them to take them back to town. As soon as the boy was gone, David came out from where he had been hiding near the stone pile. Then David bowed 3 times to Jonathan with his face to the ground. Both of them were in tears as they embraced each other and said goodbye, especially David. At last, Jonathan said to David, Go in peace, for we have sworn loyalty to each other in Yahuah's name. Yahuah is the witness of a bond between us and our children forever. Then David left, and Jonathan returned to the town. So when we read in the Legends of the Jews, we didn't already got to this point. That's why Jonathan didn't kill Mephibosheth, right? I think that's how you pronounce it, Mephibosheth. That was the one who, while they were escaping, his nurse dropped him and caused him to be injured. And from that point, he was lame in his feet, right? So he had he was in a wheelchair. So he had to kind of be carried around, or if they had a wheelchair. But it said he was lame in his feet from that accident when they were escaping. So Mephibosheth, King David, sat at his table, right? So he always treated him good because of this promise right here that he made with Jonathan. All right, y'all. So last chapter for today, 1 Samuel chapter 21. David went to the town of Nob to see Abimelech the priest. Abimelech trembled when he saw him. Why are you alone? He asked. Why is no one with you? The king has sent me on a private matter, David said. He told me not to tell anyone why I'm here. I have told my men where to meet me later. Now, what is there to eat? Give me 5 loaves of bread or anything else you have. We don't have any regular bread, the priest replied, but there is the holy bread, which you can have if your young men have not slept with any women recently. Don't worry, David replied. I never allow my men to be with women when we are on a campaign. And since they stay clean even on ordinary trips, how much more on this one? Since there was no other food available, the priest gave him the holy bread, the bread of the presence, that was placed before Yahuah in the tabernacle. It had just been replaced that day with fresh bread. Now Doeg the Edomite, Saul's chief herdsman, was there that day, having been detained before Yahuah. David asked Abimelech, Do you have a spear or a sword? The king's business was so urgent that I didn't even have time to grab a weapon. I only have the sword of Goliath the Philistine, whom you killed in the valley of Elah, the priest replied. It is wrapped in a cloth behind the ephod. Take that if you want it, for there is nothing else here. There is nothing like it, David replied. Give it to me. So David escaped from Saul and went to King Achish of Gath. But the officers of Achish were unhappy about his being there. Isn't this David, the king of the land? They asked. Who isn't he the one the people honor with dances, singing? Saul has killed his thousands and David his 10,000s. David heard these comments and was very afraid of what King Achish of Gath might do to him. So he pretended to be insane, scratching on the doors and drooling down his beard. Finally, King Achish said to his men, "Must you bring me a madman? We already have enough of them around here. Why should I let someone like this be my guest?" All right, y'all. So we're going to pause right here for today, and we'll pick this up. But we already actually passed this part in the Legends of the Jews, and we knew that this part, if you remember, it said Yahuah actually helped him to look like a madman, and it was to save his life at the moment. So he really did look like a lunatic out there, you know. So he's like, we got enough madmen around here. Why should I let this one join my table today? You know. So okay. So let me pull this up over here. Boom. All right, y'all. Hop in over here, the Legends of the Jews. Pick up on page 444 after his translation. Sip my lemon water before I get started. Okay. All right, y'all. After his translation, remember, we're talking about Elijah, y'all. Okay. So we also know from yesterday, if you missed it, because it didn't pop up for whatever reason, you got to go back and listen to it yesterday, because we began talking about Elijah, and it tells you who Elijah really is and who he was before Yahuah sent him down here. So at the beginning, we heard about that great angel, the great, not horrible, but when they looked at him, they was like, he's horrible, he is going to kill me, right? That was Elijah. But in heaven, his name, the angel's name, he is the angel name he has is Sandalphon. So also, I have some books. Let me tell you, y'all. I've always kind of been enthralled with angels. Not that I would have them around, but I've completely been interested in them since I was younger. So I would get these books. My grandma had this book called Angels on Assignment, right? And when I saw it, it kind of just lit up to me. It was like Angels on Assignment and this other book called The Elijah Task. Some of you may know what that book is. But as soon as I saw it, it was like they lit up to me. You know how something draws your attention? I was a teenager because I was 19 when I joined the military and I was stationed back here. So I was 19 when I first saw them, because she had them in her little library. And I was like, oh, can I borrow these? Can I read these? She said, yeah, Pam, go ahead. I was like, okay. You know, now, I can't remember to this day what the Angels on Assignment book had in it, but I know it had some stories about angelic encounters, and it was describing some of the angels, right? I don't remember it word for word, but I remember some of the things about the Elijah task, and some of the things that I read in that today. Now understand, I was like, oh, they had that off just a little bit, you know. So, but it was somebody who was translating, or somebody who was explaining these things that's not us. They're from another nation, right? It wasn't Israel who put these books out, right? They had some of the stuff right, but some of the stuff is off, right? Now I understand that today, right? Okay. Sometimes you have to play the fool others. Yeah, true. And it worked for King David that day, Aliyah. Okay, so that's where we're at, y'all. So we're reading about Elijah. So yesterday it starts, and it starts giving you the beginning story of it. And we also found out, this is the second time actually, where it talks about, remember the woman who Elijah prayed to Yahuah to give her a son. Remember her son? That was the place he would always stop. They made a room for him. Every time Elijah would come through town, they had a room for the man of God, right? You'll read that in Kings, in the regular Bible. But it was this woman and her son, where we found out this son that Elijah had raised from the dead, that this would be the future prophet Jonah. that has a whole book, right? That was him. Was it Jonah? Yeah, that was Jonah. Yeah, it was Jonah. I was about to say, wait a minute, I hope I didn't get that mixed up with Joel, but no, it was the prophet Jonah. That little boy who Elijah rose back to life, that was the prophet Jonah. Okay, so we're picking it up today, y'all. After his translation. Let me read this last little paragraph from yesterday, and then I'll start back here today. Okay. Elijah's miraculous deeds will be better understood if we remember that he had been an angel from the very first, even before the end of his earthly career. When Yahuah was about to create man, Elijah said to him, Master of the world, if it be pleasing in thine eyes, I will descend to earth and make myself serviceable to the sons of men. Then Yahuah changed his angel name, and later, under Ahab, he permitted him to abide among men on earth, that he might convert the world to the belief that Yahuah is one God. His mission fulfilled, Yahuah took him again into heaven and said to him, Be thou the guardian spirit of my children forever, and spread the belief in me abroad in the whole world. His angel name is Sandalphon, one of the greatest and mightiest of the fiery angel hosts. As such, it is his duty to wreathe garlands for Yahuah out of the prayers sent aloft by Israel. Besides, he must offer up sacrifices in the invisible sanctuary, for the temple was destroyed only apparently. In reality, it went on existing, hidden from the sight of ordinary mortals. All right, so also I have in some of my manuscripts, I have some things that give some deeper details that I've come across just this year, right? I just ordered all of them. I saw it, I was like, I'm getting them all, and I'm going through it, and it goes and it tells about the different ones. And I even have, like, they talk about the 5 books of Moses, but I'm not sure if you guys have ever heard about the 6th and 7th book of Moses and the 8th and 9th and 10th book of Moses. I ordered them too, y'all. Let me, yeah, look. Okay, I'm telling y'all, boy, I'll save that for another day. But there's stuff in there that is specifically in those books of the things that Moses had written. Because remember we talked about how Moses, he didn't want to die, and all this time Yahuah had to keep reminding him, Moses, you got 3 days left, son, then you coming. But it talks about how he went and he retaught the Torah, and he talked about how he wrote other multiple scrolls and stuff, right? So there are other things out there that Moses had written from the teachings that Yahuah had given to him to teach to Israel that are there. Now, some of them have been some of them have been kept in good working order, and they've kind of translated it to English. But things that were missing, they'll make notes. Hey, this was what is your ordering? What is your ordering source for manuscripts? I order from everywhere. I look and I go through and I see the different ones. I also check Amazon. Amazon is my go-to place because everybody puts everything up there. Now, when you come to Amazon and you look for something, and something is extremely high priced, like $1,000, you best believe that is one of the resources you need to have. They jack the prices up because only certain people can get them. Everybody ain't got $1,000 to spend on the book, so they'll jack the price up. And those who are serious, they'll make the purchase, or they'll try to negotiate the price or something. However, but when I see it high priced there, I'll start looking for it in other places. There was one that I found extremely high priced on Amazon. It was like $2,500. I said, blessed be the most holy. I'm not, if I don't have to, paying this for this book. I was like, I'm looking somewhere. I found it on eBay. Apparently, somebody didn't know what they had. Selling on eBay for $29. You think I ain't get it real quick? I couldn't whip out my card fast enough, and I got it. So I look everywhere. So, but I have to verify some of my stuff, right? So, but if it looks kind of close and if it got reviews, I'll look at it. I'm like, okay, so, and then I go through the process. If it's some good reviews and if it's some bad reviews, I kind of pause. But then I'll read the bad reviews and I'll look at what they're saying. If it seems that because you can tell you can kind of tell people who read stuff and just gloss over it and don't pick it up, right? Don't realize what they have in their possession. Why? Probably because it's not for them, right? It ain't the time for them to have it if they need to have it at all. So with that in mind, if there's a digital version that I can get, I'll get the digital version first and kind of go through it myself, because you can't really bank 100% if there are bad reviews. But I will keep the bad reviews in mind, which will have me being extra cautious. Okay, well, I don't know what this person knows, if they're even learned in this, or if they was just looking for a quick fix for something or whatever. So I'm going to keep this in mind, what these people said, and I'm going to go through it myself based on what I know and what I have researched up until this point, and I'll make the decision whether this is a good or a bad resource, right? And so that's my process of doing things. So my ordering source for manuscripts or books is a lot of different places. I'll start with a Google search and then I'll go to YouTube and see if anybody has made a video about it, then I start going to websites, checking out different things and things that were recommended by them. That's how I kind of go through my list of finding stuff, right? But I always start with a Google search, and then if they have like different libraries or different places that you can find it, I'll start looking. That's just kind of my process, how I go through stuff. So my ordering source is just different places. So, okay. Let me go back to your reading. All right, Tiffany, love you. We recorded. Okay, y'all. So, oh yeah, it's 8:05. Where we at? We have 45 minutes. Okay, let me get through this section. Okay. After his translation, Elijah's removal from earth, so far being an interruption to his relations with men, rather marks the beginning of his real activity as a helper in time of need, as a teacher and as a guide. At his first intervention in sublunar affairs was not frequent. 7 years after his translation, he wrote a letter to the wicked king Jehoram, who reigned over Judah. The next occasion on which he took part in an earthly occurrence was at the time of King Artaxerxes, when he did the Jews a good turn by assuming the guise of the courtier Harbona in a favorable moment, inciting the king against Haman. It was reserved for the last days, however, for Talmudic times, the golden age of the great scholars, the Tanaim and the Amorim, to enjoy Elijah's special vigilance as protector of the innocent, as a friend in need who hovers over the just and pious, ever present to guard them against evil or snatch them out of danger. With 4 strokes of his wings, Elijah can traverse the world. Hence, no spot on earth is too far removed for his help. As an angel, he enjoys the power of assuming the most various appearances to accomplish his purpose. There is this one time that I know, I'm not sure, I talked to my grandma about it because I was living her at the time. I just got stationed back here, where, oh my gosh, there was this man who had come up to me. Me and Elijah. My son Elijah was 4 years old at the time. And this man, I'm going to make it short because I know we almost at the time. I always wonder about this particular guy. I don't know where this man disappeared to or how, but anyway, he came up to me out of the blue and he looked homely, kind of. But I was in there getting some, like, personal supplies like deodorant and toothpaste and stuff like that, right? Because I think I was about to go out to sea for a workup. And so here I am. I just walked into the store, and it wasn't really anybody there. It was probably like 8 o'clock at night. The store was right up the street from my grandma's house. But I had went into the store, and I was grabbing a couple of things, putting them in a little basket, the hand-carrying basket or whatever. and I turned around and I noticed this guy. It was a black guy, and he had the prettiest sparkling eyes, and it threw me for a second, because I'm like, how could your eyes? And I don't know, you know how some people, they just got real good hygiene, and but if you look at him, you would think he was homeless. But the whites and the sparkle in his eyes looked like somebody who was very well taken care of. Like his eyes and like the glow from his face, not that he was glowing, but the clean demeanor of his face and the whites of his eyes didn't say he was a homeless person, right? And so I pay attention to little things like that. And he said, and what shocked me is I didn't say anything to this guy. And when you speak to how you doing, just being cordial or whatever, I'm getting my stuff. And he said, how you doing? He said, and this is what threw me for a loop, and I still think about it to this day. He said, do you know that you are extremely special to God? I said, and it threw me from like, okay, well, this old man look homeless. And when he said that, that's when I began to notice the whites in his eyes, right? He said, do you know that you are extremely special to God? I said, yes, thank you. At this time I'm a Christian, a good little Christian girl, right? So, granted, I wasn't married at the time and I had a child, but I had changed my ways. I was like, yes, thank you. He said, no. He said, he has his eye on you and he loves you dearly. I said, and it kind of the way he said it just made my whole soul warm over. I said, thank you again. He said, okay. And he turned around and he left. But as soon as he left, like he didn't have anything in his hand, he just walked right out the store, right? And so, but when he walked out the store, you know how you open up doors and it had a little ding bell at the top. He walked out, but as soon as he walked out, I thought about that book, Angels on Assignment, that my grandma had recently just let me borrow. So no sooner than the door, when it opened, it dinged, and he walked out, I thought about the book, and I went, and I actually, because we was kind of like right there, I grabbed Elijah, I set the basket down, I said, wait a minute, because I was just going to test, and I asked him if he was a freaking angel, right? Because what I had read from the book, look, so, but when I opened the door, the man was nowhere to be found. And I'm like, okay, so I'm looking, I'm like, he couldn't have pulled off that fast if he was in a car, because he would still be backing away. I literally turned right around. As soon as before the door closed, I was headed to the door. The Dollar General, it was on a strip of stores. And he would have to have transversed at least, I don't know, 50 steps to get into the next store, right? But it was like a mom and pop shop that was already closed, right? So I'm like, and I'm looking, and then the Dollar General where my grandma lived at, it's like the Main Street Military High. I'm like, where could this man have gone? And I said, hello, excuse me, sir. And I'm looking, I'm like, and I just stood there for a second, and I'm thinking, where could this man have gone? And I'm like, I started thinking, I was like, Father, was that an angel? But I thought about this when I started reading this, and I still think about this to this day. Because I'm like, there is no way in the world that this guy could have. First of all, he was an older guy, and older people ain't taking off running so all of these things I'm thinking about. I'm like, where could this guy have gone in a matter of less than a minute, right? There was no car backing out. He couldn't have made it to the side of the building, because there's no walkway. There's grass over here, and the median is that, where are you going to go, right? So, but anyway, I just want to share that. But I think about stuff like this, right? Okay, so let me hurry up because we almost at time. Look, with 4 strokes of his wings, Elijah can transverse the world. Hence, no spot on the earth is too far removed for his help. As an angel, he enjoys the power of assuming the most various appearances to accomplish his purpose. Sometimes he looks like an ordinary man. Sometimes he takes the appearance of an Arab. Sometimes of a horseman. Now he is a Roman court official. Now he is a harlot. Once upon a time, it happened that when Nahum, the great and pious teacher, was journeying to Rome on a political mission, he was without knowledge, robbed of the gift he bore to the emperor as an offering from the Jews. When he handed the casket to the ruler, it was found to contain common earth, which the thieves had substituted for the jewels they had extracted. The emperor thought the Hebrews were mocking at him, and their representative Nahum was condemned to suffer death. In his piety, the rabbi did not lose confidence in Yahuah. He only said, this too is for good. And so it turned out to be. Suddenly Elijah appeared, and assuming the guise of a court official, he said, perhaps the earth in this casket is like that used by Abraham for purposes of war. A handful will do the work of swords and bows. At his instance, the virtues of the earth were tested in the attack upon a city that long resisted Roman courage and strength. His superstition was verified. The contents of the casket proved more efficacious than all the weapons of the army, and the Romans were victorious. Nahum was dismissed, laden with honors and treasures, and the thieves who had betrayed themselves by claiming the precious earth were executed. For naturally enough, Elijah works no wonder for evildoers. Boom, which goes back to what I said about the ineffable name of Yahuah that you will find flowing through occultic materials. But what I've noticed, it doesn't seem to be doing much good for some of these people. They may see little things happening while they're calling on angelic forces to help them with things, but their motives are impure, right? Remember I told you as I was reading through the book of, what's the angel name? The book of YisraEL. And it talks and it goes through these things, even in these other books of Moses. The 6th and 7th, 8th, 9th, and 10th book of Moses talks about the purity that those who are asking Yahuah for things that they must have. Like if heaven and earth is going to work on your behalf and the elements are going to come to your aid, for you to experience the full manifestation of what you're asking for, you must be pure and holy. And your motives must be pure and holy and honorable, right? You can't be like, oh, I'm sick of sis, I want her to die today. Now that we want kind of like witchcraft stuff now, right? Because your motives are impure and your intent for what you're about to use these tools for is impure. And it's one of detriment and harm to another person, right? These things, they are simply tools, but it is your intent on what you plan on doing with this wisdom and knowledge which will determine your outcome, if you get one or if not, right? And a lot of times if your motives are impure, the most holy things will not work for you. It would just be like what is this? This nothing is working here. Your intentions are wrong and you want to bring harm to someone. Therefore, it will lie dormant in your hands, right? But now, if it's for pure protection and you truly indeed are holy and you have been set apart, we're going to see a little supernatural thing happen for you. Look, okay. Another time, for the purpose of rescuing Rabbi Sheila, Elijah pretended to be a Persian. An informer had announced the rabbi with the Persian government, accusing him of administering the law according to the Hebrew code. Elijah appeared as a witness for the rabbi and against the informer, and Sheila was honorably dismissed. When the Roman bailiffs were pursuing Rabbi Meir, Elijah joined him in the guise of a harlot. The Roman emissaries desisted from their pursuit, for they could not believe that Rabbi Meir would choose such a companion. A contemporary of Rabbi Meir, Rabbi Simon ben Yohai, who spent 13 years in a cave to escape the vengeance of the Romans, was informed by Elijah of the death of a Hebrew baiting emperor so that he could leave his hiding place. Equally characteristic is the help of Elijah afforded to the worthy poor. Frequently, he brought them great wealth. Rabbi Kihana was so needy that he had to support himself by peddling with household utensils. Once a lady of high standing endeavored him to force him to commit an immoral act, and Kahana, preferring death to iniquity, threw himself from aloft. Though Elijah was at a distance of 400 parasangs, he hastened to the post in time to catch the rabbi before he touched the ground. Besides, he gave him means enough to enable him to abandon an occupation beset with perils. Rabbi Bar Abahu likewise was a victim of poverty. All right, babe. Are we dropping it off today? Okay. He admitted to Elijah that on account of his small means, he had no time to devote to his studies. Thereupon Elijah led him into paradise, bade him remove his mantle, and fill it with leaves grown in the regions of the blessed. When the rabbi was about to quit paradise, his garment full of leaves, like leaves that fall from trees, leaves. When the rabbi was about to quit paradise, his garment full of leaves, a voice was heard to say, "Who desires to anticipate his share in the world to come during his earthly days, as Rabbi Bar Abahu is doing?" The rabbi quickly cast the leaves away. Nevertheless, he received 12,000 denarii for his upper garment because it retained the wondrous fragrance of the leaves of paradise. Right, so he was about to go, and the tenants in paradise like, wait, who is this trying to take their share before the time? And he got scared, let all the leaves fly out his garment. Oh, but there was still a blessing in it because the fragrance and the beauty from them leaves remained in the garment that he wore. Right, I'll read that again. When the rabbi was about to quit paradise, his garment full of leaves, a voice was heard to say, "Who desires to anticipate his share in the world to come during his earthly days, as Rabbi Bar Abahu is doing?" The rabbi quickly cast the leaves away. Nevertheless, he received 12,000 denarii for his upper garment, because it retained the wondrous fragrance of the leaves of paradise. Elijah's help was not confined to poor teachers of the law. All who were in need and were worthy of his assistance had claim upon him. A poor man, the father of a family, in his distress once prayed to Yahuah, "O Lord of the world, thou knowest that there is none to whom I can tell my tale of woe, none who will have pity upon me. I have neither brother nor kinsman nor friend, and my starving little ones are crying with hunger. Then do thou have mercy and be compassionate, or let death come and put an end to our suffering." His words found a hearing with Yahuah, for as he finished, Elijah stood before the poor man and sympathetically inquired why he was weeping. When the prophet had heard the tale of his troubles, he said, "Take me and sell me as a slave. The proceeds will suffice for thy needs." At first, the poor man refused to accept the sacrifice, but finally yielded, and Elijah was sold to a prince for 80 denarii. This sum formed the nucleus of the fortune which the poor man amassed and enjoyed until the end of his days. The prince who had purchased Elijah intended to build a palace, and he rejoiced to hear that his new slave was an architect. He promised Elijah liberty if within 6 months he completed the edifice. After nightfall of the same day, Elijah offered a prayer, and instantaneously the palace stood in its place in complete perfection. Elijah disappeared. The next morning, the prince was not a little astonished to see the palace finished, but when he sought his slave to reward him and sought him in vain, he realized that he had dealings with an angel. Elijah meantime repaired to the man who had sold him and related his story to him, that he might know he had not cheated the purchaser out of his price. On the contrary, he had enriched him, since the palace was worth 100 times more than the money paid for the pretended slave. A similar thing happened to a well-to-do man who lost his fortune and became so poor that he had to do manual labor in the field of another. Once, when he was at work, he was accosted by Elijah, who had assumed the appearance of an Arab. Thou art destined to enjoy 7 good years. When dost thou want them? Now, or as the closing years of thy life? The man replied, Thou art a wizard. Go in peace. I have nothing for thee. 3 times the same question was put. 3 times the same reply was given. Finally, the man said, I shall ask the advice of my wife. So Elijah showed up, pretended to be an Arab, and the man was like, look, man, I don't talk to genies. Get out of here. Like, did y'all know genie is a real thing? And now when you hear the word genie, you think of like genie in a bottle. But that's not really what I'm talking about, right? The true definition of a genie, first of all, is one of the darker spirits, right? It would have been one of the spirits that King Solomon enlisted for the help with the building of the temple, like the demonic forces. That's what a genie is, right? And it's spelled Genii, or they're also, you also hear them refer to it like in the occultic world, they're called jinns, like Jinn, like you don't really want to play around with them, especially if you don't know who those particular forces are, right? Now, I've seen in some things where jinns or genies, which are different from genius spirits, I know that's a lot of angelic talk, but I've seen where, like, and those are the type of spirits where you actually need to give something in return for what you're asking them to do for you, right? So when I read this, I was like, oh, he know what it is. So he said, look, man, I don't deal with y'all. Go and get out of here, right? So that's what he thought Elijah was. He said, thou art a wizard. I don't need anything from you, right? Because a lot of times you'll see, like in the movie, sometimes I think they take it overboard a little bit. It's like, oh, well, for me to do this, I need a blood sacrifice. Promise me a body or something. It's kind of like on those lines where it's like, look, thou art a wizard. You got to go and get away from here, right? So, just so you know. Once, when he was at work, he was accosted by Elijah, who had assumed the appearance of an Arab. Thou art destined to enjoy 7 good years. When dost thou want them, now or as the closing years of thy life? The man replied, Thou art a wizard. Go in peace. I have nothing for thee. 3 times the same question was put. 3 times the same reply was given. Finally, the man said, I shall ask the advice of my wife. When Elijah came again, he repeated the question. The man, following the counsel of his wife, said, See to it that the 7 good years come to us at once. Elijah replied, Go home. Before thou crossest thy threshold, thy good fortune will have filled thy house. And so it was. His children, okay. And so it was. His children had found a treasure in the ground, and as he was about to enter his house, his wife met him and reported the lucky find. His wife was an estimable, pious woman, and she said to her husband, We shall enjoy 7 good years. Let us use this time to practice as much charity as possible. Perhaps Yahuah will lengthen our period of prosperity. What a wise woman. Because when things come to you, and it's like, if you blow it, look, because you might go through another cycle of lack. But if you didn't do what you should have done in your years of plenty, you are surely going to suffer them years of lack when it arrives, right? We can follow the example of Joseph, who stored up during the 7 good years. So when the 7 years of famine came, They weren't moved one bit. They was well prepared to endure these years of hardship, right? Because they stored up. Same principle here. Let us use this time to practice as much charity as possible. Perhaps Yahuah will lengthen out our period of prosperity. After the lapse of 7 years, during which man and wife used every opportunity of doing good, Elijah appeared again and announced to the man that the time had come to take away what he had given him. The man responded, "When I accepted thy gift, it was after consultation with my wife. I should not like to return it without first acquainting her with what is about to happen." His wife charged him to say to the old man who had come to resume possession of his property, "If thou canst find anyone who will be more conscientious stewards of the pledges entrusted to us than we have been, I shall willingly yield them up to thee." Yahuah recognized that these people had made a proper use of their wealth, and he granted it to them as a perpetual possession. Think about it. You may be going through a test, and if you fail it, you might lose it all. But if you pass it, it could be given to you and to your posterity forever. Remember that, y'all. If Elijah was not able to lighten the poverty of the pious, at least he sought to inspire them with hope and confidence. Rabbi Akiba, a great scholar, lived in dire poverty before he became the famous rabbi. His rich father-in-law would have nothing to do with him or his wife because the daughter had married Akiba against her father's will. Okay, y'all. This is going to be the last section that we're going to read. But it's going to go... I'm going to read the rest of this and then we'll pause. But it's still a nice little bit of the paragraph. I'll probably be done reading it in about 5 minutes, just in case y'all were wondering. Okay. His rich father-in-law would have nothing to do with him or his wife because the daughter had married Akiba against her father's will. On a bitter, cold winter night, Akiba could offer his wife, who had been accustomed to the luxuries of wealth, to what the luxuries of wealth can buy, nothing but straw as a bed to sleep upon, and he tried to comfort her with assurances of his love for the privations she was suffering. At that moment, Elijah appeared before their hut and cried out in supplicating tones, "O good people, give me, I pray you, a little bundle of straw. My wife have been delivered of a child, and I am so poor I haven't enough straw to make a bed for her." Now, mind you, he was just saying this is all they had, right? This look. We see Elijah doing this with the widow woman too. Remember, I think it was the widow from Zarephath. Elijah showed up. She said, "Look, man, me and my son about to die. We about to take this last little bit, go ahead and make us our last meal. We're going to eat it and we're going to die." He said, "Okay, woman, you do what you said, but first, make me a meal." And anybody was like, "Well, first of all, how selfish. Didn't I just tell you me and my son was about to die? This is our last meal. We're going to eat and we're going to die." Then you would say, "First, make you a little piece of cake." Okay, we're going to do it because we heard about your good rep. Actually, she didn't know who Elijah was, but she did it not knowing who Elijah was. And then her in doing this proved she had a good heart. She was willing to give and she was unselfish, right? Because somebody who has a truly good heart, they're not going to stand by, see you suffering. Even if they don't have much, they'll offer you a little of what they do have and they'll make it work, right? So Elijah seems to show up to people like this in order to give them an opportunity to have their dire situation turned around, right? And a lot of times we don't even know what's happening because we don't see an angel show up before us or a man coming down from heaven in fiery chariots. "I'm Elijah. Tell me what you need and I'll tell the Most Holy so we can provide." No. Certain things happen and we see how you respond. That's how it happens for us here. Okay, look. At that moment, Elijah appeared before their hut and cried out in supplicating tones, "O good people, give me, I pray you, a little bundle of straw. My wife has been delivered of a child, and I am so poor I haven't had enough straw to make a bed for her." Now Akiba could console his wife with the fact that their own misery was not so great as it might have been, and thus Elijah had attained his end to sustain the courage of the pious. In the form of an Arab, he once appeared before a very poor man whose piety equaled his poverty. He gave him 2 shekels. These 2 coins brought him such good fortune that he attained great wealth. But in his zeal to gather the worldly treasures, he had no time for deeds of piety and charity. Elijah again appeared before him and took away the 2 shekels. In a short time, the man was as poor as before. A third time, Elijah came to him. He was crying bitterly and complaining of his misfortune. And the prophet said, I shall make thee rich once more, if thou wilt promise me under oath that thou wilt not let wealth ruin thy character. Ooh, my G. Listen, that'll, like my mama said, that'll preach, right? Your true character is really found out when you come into lots of money, right? And a lot of times people who had nothing and then they get something big like winning the lottery or an inheritance is dropped on them before they had the time to daily fix their character, they end up losing that through foolish actions, right? Improper decisions. You ain't never had money, now you got money, now you buying everybody a house, you buying up all the latest shoes, all the latest fashions, you dripping, right? Saucy, look at me. Like you spending your money on things that decrease in value, right? You're not buying homes to use as a business and rent them out to create more money. You're buying homes for people to live in that are becoming liabilities to them. Like you ain't making no money off of this. You ain't renting it out to them. You buying it and giving it away. Not saying that you shouldn't bless people if you can. But if you're doing this and you come from nothing and you have no wisdom about finances and how it works, it's almost guaranteed that you will be broke in a matter of 5 to 7 years. And some of you, possibly a year. Because you're foolish and your character has not been developed. Neither has your understanding and wisdom of how this world works, right? So blessed be the most holy that he allowed us to struggle for so many years and slowly begin to amass and build wealth. So when we have big things drop, we're not like, oh my gosh, $10,000. What is our payroll is more than that every 2 weeks, right? So it's things like that. And we understood these principles a lot. So money, it really brings out who you really are. And something one of my pastors said a while ago, it said, money didn't change you. Money only brought out who you really were, right? Ooh. The third time Elijah came to him, he was crying bitterly and complaining of his misfortune. And the prophet said, I shall make thee rich once more, if thou wilt promise me under oath, thou wilt not let wealth ruin thy character. He promised. The 2 shekels were restored to him. He regained his wealth, and he remained in possession of it for all time, because his piety was not curtailed by his riches. Poverty was not the only form of distress Elijah relieved. He exercised, what is the water, y'all? Hold on. Okay. He exercised the functions of a physician upon Rabbi Shimi Bar Ashai, who had swallowed a noxious reptile. Elijah appeared to him as an awe-inspiring horseman and forced him to apply the preventives against the disease to be expected in these circumstances. He also cured Rabbi Judah Ha-Nashi of a long-continued toothache by laying his hand on the sufferer, and at the same time he brought about the reconciliation of Rabbi Judah with Rabbi Yahuah, whose form he had assumed. Rabbi Judah paid the highest respects to Rabbi Yahuah after he had found out that Elijah had considered him worthy of taking his appearance. On another occasion, Elijah reestablished harmony between a husband and his wife. The woman had come home very late on Friday evening, having allowed herself to be detained by the sermon preached by Rabbi Meir. Her autocratic husband swore she should not enter the house until she spat in the very face of the highly esteemed rabbi. Meantime, Elijah went to Rabbi Meir and told him a pious woman had fallen into a sore predicament on his account. To help the poor woman, the rabbi resorted to a ruse. He announced that he was looking for one who knew how to cast spells, which was done by spitting into the eye of the afflicted one. When he caught the sight of the woman designated by Elijah, he asked her to try her power upon him. Thus, she was able to comply with her husband's requirement without disrespect to the rabbi, and through the instrumentality of Elijah, conjugal happiness was restored to an innocent wife. Let me tell y'all, marriage is really, really important to the Most Holy, right? There are a lot of things that Yahuah would do to keep the sanctity of a marriage together. No matter who was foolish, right? If they both were truly repentant, they really wanted to work, Yahuah helped see them through. Even though it may look like a complete crap show right now and the whole world knows, right? Yahuah is all for marriage and restoring the sanctity of marriage. It doesn't matter what was done and who did it, who was innocent and who was guilty, right? Okay. Elijah's versatility is shown in the following occurrence. The pious man bequeathed a spice garden to his 3 sons. They took turns in guarding it against thieves. The first night, the oldest son watched the garden. Elijah appeared to him and asked, "My son, what wilt thou have knowledge of the Torah?" Okay. "My son, what wilt thou have? Knowledge of the Torah, or great wealth, or a beautiful wife?" He chose wealth, great wealth. Accordingly, Elijah gave him a coin, and he became rich. To the second son, to whom Elijah appeared the second night, chose knowledge of the Torah. Elijah gave him a book, and he knew the whole Torah. The third son, on the third night, when Elijah put the same choice before him as before his brothers, he wished for a beautiful wife. Elijah invited this third brother to go on a journey with him. The first night was passed at the house of a notorious villain who had a daughter. During the night, Elijah overheard the chickens and the geese say to one another, "What a terrible sin that young man must have committed, that he should be destined to marry the daughter of so great a villain." The 2 travelers journeyed on. The second night, the experiences of the first were repeated. The third night, they lodged with a man who had a very pretty daughter. During the night, Elijah heard the chickens and the geese say to one another, "How great must be the virtues of this young man, if he is privileged to marry so beautiful and a pious wife." In the morning, when Elijah arose, he at once became a matchmaker. The young man married the pretty maiden, and the husband and wife journeyed homeward in joy. If it became necessary, Elijah was ready to do even services of a sexton. When Rabbi Akiba died in prison, Elijah betook himself to the dead man's faithful disciple, Rabbi Joshua, and the 2 went together to the prison. There was none to forbid their entrance. A deep sleep had fallen upon the turnkeys and the prisoners alike. Elijah and Rabbi Joshua took the corpse with them, Elijah bearing it upon his shoulder. Rabbi Joshua, in astonishment, demanded how he, a priest, dared defile himself upon a corpse. The answer was, "Yahuah forbid. The pious can never cause defilement." The answer was, "God forbid. The pious can never cause defilement." All night the 2 walked on with their burden. At the break of day, they found themselves near Caesarea. Caesar's place. Caesarea. A cave opened before their eyes, and within they saw a bed, a chair, a table, and a lamp. They deposited the corpse upon the bed and left the cave, which closed up behind them. Only the light of the lamp, which had lit itself after they left, shone through the chinks. Whereupon Elijah said, "Hail, ye just! Hail to you who devote yourself to the study of the law! Hail to you, ye God-fearing man! For your places are set aside and kept and guarded in paradise for the time to come. Hail to thee, Rabbi Akiba, that thy lifeless body found lodgment for a night in a lovely spot. And that, my beautiful people, is where we're going to pause today. We are at 1 hour and 23 minutes. And I know it was long, but I didn't want to just cut it off in the middle of that section. I know a couple of people had to go ahead and go to work, which is what you should do. If you want somebody else's time, do what's required of you until you can make your own time and do what you want to do, right? Okay, but we always record it. You can always come back and watch it when you have some free time. So that was Legends of the Jews. We started at page 444 and we ended on 447, and we'll pick it back up tomorrow. Yeah, tomorrow. I had to double check first. I'm like, wait a minute. Am I supposed to read tomorrow? Because it's Passover. But Passover's at sundown, so we'll be here tomorrow. And Sunday, the Sabbath, which is also the double Sabbath, the first day of unleavened bread, we won't be here. We actually rest. Okay. All right, y'all. So that being said, that was 1 Samuel 19, 20, and 21. It is Friday, March the 26th, 2021. Day 112 of year 3 of reading through the books and the prophets, and of the 3-year consecutive day count, day 781. All right, let's go ahead and do the blessing real quick. And I saw a comment. I'll check it real quick. Let's see. Remember, the blessing is found in Numbers chapter 6. Remember, the first 21 verses is the Nazarite vow. The blessing begins at verse 22. And Yahuah spake unto Moses, saying, Speak unto Aaron and unto his sons, saying, On this wise ye shall bless the children of Israel, saying unto them, May Yahuah bless us and keep us. May Yahuah make his face to shine upon us and be gracious unto us. May Yahuah lift up his countenance upon us and give us peace. And they shall put my name upon the children of Israel, and I will bless them. Okay. Double check the comment real quick. We gotta get on up out of here. Rabbi, I thought our priests are the Levites, and they're to be in Jerusalem. For people who don't know the words, they'll believe. Rabbi, Jewish are still descendants of Yisolele. Okay, so remember when I said some of the words, don't let the titles and the words that they use throw you off, right? So you have to be able to decipher that, right? The people who translate it based on what they understood and what they know at the time, they're translating it with how they understand it. So some of the words I will change, and if I have the proper word for it, I will use it, right? So, but it had rabbi, so I just used rabbi, right? Okay. All right, y'all. Yeah, people who don't know, they'll still, okay, so here's what we have to understand. Like, we know we are the descendants of Jacob, right? We're Jacob's children, the descendants, Israel, right? And so people who understand that shouldn't throw you off, because when you read it, remember it was written before, how can I say this? It was written, okay. So you have people who are Jewish, who are the European converts, who will write some of the truth in here, but still using how they taught. Because remember, they are descendants of their ancestors as well, and they have inherited lies. So as they translate the story and they write it, they're writing it in their language and what they understand. But when we know it, we can replace those words. So that's why when I see Jewish in here or whatever, I'll try not to say Jewish, because especially if people just coming on and don't really understand anything. Oh, the Jews over it. No, so I'll change it. I'll try. Sometimes I may slip up and say Jewish. I'll say Hebrew, because if you go in here and you read it, you will see Jewish. But it's just a part of growing and learning. It's something the more you do it, the better you'll become at it, and it won't trip you up, right? You just kind of have to pause. When you feel like that, okay, pause. That's okay. What is the truth? You just kind of walk through the process and make sure you bring yourself back in alignment. Okay, remember, this was a Jewish guy that wrote it and translated. And blessed be the most holy that he did, because none of our people at that time, we had been so far removed from our language that nobody in captivity, as far as I'm not saying nobody, because some people do, but they don't have the platform to put it out like he had, right? Y'all get what I'm saying? You know, so be mindful of those things. Be critical, but also be mindful of what's happened. Our books and stuff, it has been preserved in great detail in a lot of ways. Although a lot of them have been tampered with, some things have been added, some things have been taken away. But if we understand that, when we get what has been preserved, Yahuah allowed them to preserve it. They have the platform to put it out. Now Yahuah is bringing it all back into our charge, into our care, because we are the ones who he has given his word to. Now we're able to remove the garbage that they have added, and we can translate it appropriately, right? So they've given it back to us in a mess, but it's only us. Yahuah reserves certain things only for his people. They can take it and they can pass it along. Like all these years they have it, teaching it in their synagogues, adding the Talmudic things on top of it, telling it to you like this. And I'm sitting here watching all this. I'm like, y'all sitting here do this and y'all have no clue what y'all have in y'all hands, and it has no power for you. And you're doing all these religious things and all this, but you don't even really understand what that is. They're doing this out of religiousness, and while they're reading, whatever, how they say it, they rocking back and forth. I say, you don't really even understand what that is, right? You see them doing this, but when I look at them, I say they are completely clueless about this, and they're trying to act out something which is something natural that happens within the sons and daughters of Yisolele, or the descendants of Jacob, who have been scattered abroad, right? When you see the Jewish people reading the scriptures or reading the holy scrolls, singing and rocking back and forth, they're trying to mimic and imitate what happens naturally in the sons of God, in the sons and daughters of God. Because when the light and truth comes inside of us, our spirits literally begin to sing. The song inside of us literally wakes up, and we can't do anything but praise the name of Yahuah. That rocking back and forth, that's a reverence. Like, oh, think about it, y'all. When you hear truth, like your soul literally shakes down deep in your shanana, and you can't help but to, oh my God, and you rock like, oh my God, and you fall to your knees. That's something that it's power that happens only on the inside of us, right? It identifies us. While they're going through the religious acts of trying to mimic what doesn't belong to him, when truth comes to us, we can take that same book and it will enlighten us literally, and we literally become gods walking this earth, my G. Don't get me started today. Oh, I'm already hot, sweating under the arms already trying to explain this to y'all. But we gotta go, y'all. We already past our time. I love y'all, and I'll see y'all back here. Look, hold on. Yeah, it still grinds my ears when I hear it. That's all I know. But you gotta learn how. I completely get you. Now I had those moments like, oh my God, just shut up. What is you ain't even saying that the right way, right? But it takes the power of the most holy, his Holy Spirit, or his set apart spirit, or his Ruach HaKodesh, which is literally the power of Yahuah himself, coming in and residing on the inside of us, right? That's what the Holy Spirit is. It's the set apart fire and spirit of the holy ones. It's a portion of his spirit that he has put inside of us so that we can walk as he walks here upon this earth. All right. Yeah, we're bound to. All right, people. I love y'all. I'll see y'all back here bright and early in the morning, 7:30. I'm about to say 7:15. It's Saturday tomorrow. 7:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Out of here. Love y'all. Peace.